Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Makers Demo Day. My name is Leo, and I'm a technical coach here at Makers. And we're here today to showcase the final project developed by our October cohort. I'll first introduce the cohort, and then each team will present what they've been working on during those last 2 weeks. Afterwards, please stick around for a Q&A session if you're interested in joining Makers or if you have any questions about the course, about what we do at Makers and how we teach and everything. So many of you will already know that Makers Academy is a 16-week coding bootcamp. It's a very intense learning experience, and over the course of that time here, many developers go from knowing only some coding basics or barely nothing to programming to being able to build a full web application from scratch. At Makers, we believe that anyone can learn to code. And just a few months ago, the developers that you are about to see tonight were enjoying the first week here, getting to grips with TDD, test-driven development, and Ruby classes. And today they can build and deploy entire projects to create the products that they like to use and to see in the world. So I'm not going to address the code directly when I say this. You should all be extremely proud of what you've all achieved tonight. Think about it just for a second. You started the full-time course only 12 weeks ago, and look where you are now. This definitely wasn't an easy thing to do, and this is something that required a growth mindset from each of you to keep learning, progressing, and overcoming all those challenges throughout the course. And you can imagine, even if you're not a software engineer yourself, even if you're not working in the industry, how challenging these things can get. Every week for the past 16 weeks, there are new concepts to learn, to digest, and to use in various challenges, exercises, and team projects. And just when they thought that they had some time to breathe and to let their knowledge sink in and to rest a bit, then a new week was coming with an avalanche of new things, new concepts to learn. And not only purely technical skills, but also a lot of things that make a great software engineer and great software teams. Things like teamwork, communication, agile planning, developer process, feedback, reviewing each other's work, etc., etc. And if all those things sound challenging, it's simply because they are. And before we start the demo, I just wanted to fully appreciate that before they start presenting. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. And you really deserve the place where you are right now. It's always so great and inspiring to see how much developers thrive at Makers and after Makers, and especially in such personally challenging times with COVID, remote working, and other things. So I'm really excited to see where they'll go next. All right, enough of me talking. Without further delay, we're going to start the presentations. Before that, please note that after each presentation, you'll be able to ask about 1 or 2 questions maximum, so we don't overrun too much on the time we have. But you'll be able to ask 1 or 2 questions max to the team through the Q&A feature that is at the bottom of your Zoom window. You should have a Q&A button. Use this feature to ask any questions that you want the team to answer at the end of their presentation. All right, I would now like to introduce the first team. And the first team to present tonight decided to work on something along game, football, and sports, and they actually made me discover what sweepstake was. Sweepstake, I think I'm pronouncing it right, and I didn't know what it was. So my first thanks to this team is thank you for helping me discover those things, and I will learn a new thing. But I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to let the first team introduce their project. So sweepers, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Dean, and we're the football sweepstake generator team. We are a remote team based in the UK, and we've been working on the sweepstake generator for the last 2 weeks. A sweepstake is a competition between friends or family where each participant is randomly assigned a team. Participants follow their team's results until one is crowned the winner. We wanted to bring you this presentation via the metaverse, but Zoom will have to do. There are 6 members in the team: Dylan, Mark, Kate, Mohammed, Leia, and myself. We're going to show you our processes and achievements throughout the project. I'm going to hand over to Mark, who's going to talk to you about our web app.
Thanks, Dean. Our idea was to create an app that generates a sweepstake for different football competitions so that it's quicker and less admin to set up a sweepstake with your friends or colleagues. We did some research and we couldn't find much out there that solves this problem already. We initially prioritized 2 competitions, the African Cup of Nations that's going on now and the English Premier League. We could extend our app in the future to cover more football competitions like the World Cup, the Euros, Champions League, or other sports like the Grand National in the horse racing, the tennis at Wimbledon, or the golf majors. The app allows you to set up a sweepstake for competition, add players, and then randomly assigns each player a team in the competition. And Dylan's going to show you a demo video of that now.
Thanks very much, Mark. And hi, everybody. This demo is pre-recorded, so I'm just going to hit play and talk you through our application. So landing on the application, the first thing you are presented with is our homepage here, where we've got, as Mark mentioned, the two competitions which we've decided to create sweepstake options for a user. So we've got the Africa Cup of Nations and the Premier League. On each of these two cards, we have a create sweepstake button, which when selected will take you to your creation of a sweepstake page. And up in the table at the top here, we've got the teams which are included within that competition. Further down on the page, we have an input field where you can name your sweepstake. So for the purposes of this demo, we'll be calling this the Makers AFCON Sweepstake. And then you can go ahead and set up your sweepstake with the button below. On the next page, we'll see that we've created a sweepstake underneath the Africa Cup of Nations competition called Makers AFCON Sweepstake, and we've got a number of player input fields. These player input fields are dependent on the number of teams in the competition, and for the Africa Cup of Nations, there are 24 teams, so 24 players. Rather than filling it out in front of you guys, I've created an example where these fields are already filled out. So when we scroll to the bottom here, we've got the option to generate the sweepstake. Once that's selected, the magic in the background happens, and every player input in that form is assigned a random team in the Africa Cup of Nations competition. As you scroll down, you'll see every team has been used, and then at the bottom here, we've got a button for viewing the form of these teams, which is a live API to a scoring body, and you can see their form for the competition so far. The second route within our application works very similarly, and it's to the Premier League. So over here on the right, you can see our Premier League banner and our Create Sweepstake button below. Once that's selected, similarly, you can see the individual teams for the Premier League as a competition, and then you have the ability to name your sweepstake. And for the purposes of this demo, we'll call it the Makers Premier League Sweepstake, and we'll set up that sweepstake in the same way as the AFCON. As I mentioned before, the number of player input fields depends on the number of teams in the competition. So there are 20 for the Premier League, and again, I've filled this out in a separate tab here. And much in the same way that the African Cup of Nations sweepstake generator worked, we've generated random allocations for our teams to players, and we have the ability to see the form, which is based on a live API. That pretty much covers off our application. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll be handing on to Kate for our team practices and processes.
Thanks, Dylan. Before starting the development of our app, we established our team charter and practices based on extreme programming values. We ensured every voice was heard and had a lot of fun learning. A challenge we faced was coordinating work in a fully remote team, which we solved by communicating often and clearly on Slack and Trello. We started designing a minimum viable product for our app by sketching a basic wireframe for the design, which you can see there, and modeling our database structure. We then turned our minimal viable product into user stories, which we tracked on a Trello board. Working in 2-day sprints with daily stand-ups and a retro at the end of each sprint, we pair programmed to implement each user story. We reviewed each other's code on GitHub before merging, and then deployed each update to our live app hosted on Heroku. I'll now hand over to Leia, who's going to talk about our tech stack. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kate. We decided to build the web application using the Ruby programming language. The type of framework that we used was Ruby on Rails. And in terms of the front end, we used the Gem Bootstrap to make the front end look nice and clean, have a nice, good interface. We used RSpec for testing, so we could keep track of that. So we know that the code is doing exactly what we want it to do. We decided to deploy it on Heroku, so you don't just have to upload the web page on localhost. You can access it via a link. All the things such as database and names were all stored in a database using PSQL. So the web page can remember all the details, and we got all the current forms through a rapid API, which gave us the information of the wins and losses of the team. I'll now hand over to Mohammed to wrap it up.
Thanks, Leah. So we took a test-driven development approach to building the whole app, which of course has been the theme throughout the whole 12-week bootcamp. We allowed our errors to guide us, which was immensely helpful, especially when it came to things like hosting on Heroku, which was some uncharted waters maybe for some people in our group who hadn't worked with kind of deploying a website. We had a significant amount of tests which passed, which gave us the confidence in deploying, knowing we had a product that worked and allowed us to implement an agile workflow. As you can see from the diagram there, so we've got about 94% test coverage. I think that the recommended test coverage as valued by the coaches that we worked with is about 85%. So I think we've well exceeded that. And then, yeah, that should be the presentation side of things. And then we'll just open the floor to any questions that you have, really.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Great presentation and great project. So let's see if we have any question from the audience coming through the Q&A. Just gonna wait a little bit, see if there are any questions coming in. Cool. I do have one question on my side, though. What would you say was the most challenging part of the project, looking back at it?
Looking back, I think it was being able to accommodate everybody's ideas all into one, and then making sure that everybody was heard, really. And I think once you go into the whole MVP, you've got like a whole load of ideas just jotted down from everyone. And I mean, our group was 6 people, so it had to kind of accommodate to 6 different ideas and 6 different kind of working structures and 6 different, visions as to how they wanted the website to look.
Cool, thanks. Meanwhile, there was one question that came in, which is, do you have storage in place? So I guess by storage, we mean some kind of database or some storage. So I guess you're using a database, right?
Yeah, so we have a Postgres database that stores the all of the inputs from the users, but also the data about the teams in each competition as well. So when we're displaying stuff on the page, it's coming from our Postgres database.
Cool, thanks. All right, we're going to move to the next team to make sure that we don't overrun in terms of time. So thanks, sweethearts. So the next team decided to work on a slightly different problem. So we used to go out quite a lot as people, especially living in London before COVID. And hopefully when things get better, like we will go out again. And if you live in a city busy as London, you will know that trying to organize something with your friends to make sure that you find the best day for everyone and make sure that it accommodates for everyone's schedule can be really challenging. And so the next team have been trying to solve this problem by working on the project Heyday. So Heyday, I'm going to leave the floor to you now to talk about the project.
Hello, everyone. This is Heyday, an app we've created to help people find the best day to meet up with one another. My name is Matt. And I'm joined here today by Ginny, Ryan, Andy, and Myung. Unfortunately, Courtney, who also worked with us on this project, can't be here today, but the rest of the team will speak shortly. So as a team, we wanted a web app that does more than just make a list of everyone's availability or allow people to just vote for their favorite date, like a doodle poll might be able to. We wanted to capture and resolve different people's preferences across multiple days, and not just which days they're free, but also which days would work well for them. We wanted users to retain their privacy so that they don't have to share their entire schedules in order to get a clear idea of everyone's availability. We wanted to simplify the decision by providing a single, well-calculated best day that factors in both availability and preference. And we wanted to build something that required no login details, so the web app was easily accessible and felt safe to use. And we think Heyday accomplishes all of this, but before we demo it, Ginny will talk briefly about the technology we've used to create it.
Thanks, Matt. For our project, we opted to use React, Express, and Jest. For web hosting, we used Heroku on the back end, Vercel on the front end. We used SAS for our design and opted not to use a database, and we're not storing any user data. We were all keen to further develop our JavaScript skills. We chose Jest because that's what's commonly used along with React. And React and Express were not taught at Makers, but we wanted to test and apply the self-learning skills we developed on the course in order to learn current industry relevant frameworks. Now Myung will demo the site for you.
Thanks, Ginny. We'll begin the user experience by clicking the Start button here. So here you can specify a date range and group size for a meetup. And on submission, it will generate a room with these parameters, as you can see. So we have the option to amend these parameters of the meetup by clicking the Edit button, and a modal will pop up where you can update your original inputs. And as you'll see in a moment, the date and the number of response forms have been updated. So in the response form, you have the option to cycle through your preferred option for each calendar day to set when you're free and when works best for you. So on submission, the response form and the edit room setup buttons are deactivated, so these inputs could not be accessed any longer. And now you can copy a shareable link to the room with the rest of your friends so they can input their preferences for a response form. I will now hand over to Ryan, who will walk you through the rest of the user experience.
So as you can see, I received the link from Young and pasted it into my browser, and it's exactly as he left it. And then you see the response forms are there. We go through them and we can fill it out. But I think it's worth noting for the purpose of this demonstration, we've filled out all the forms on the recording so you can see all the data being put in. But on the hosted application, all of these can be filled out simultaneously online and submitted. You'll notice there are 4 colors there: the clear, which is default, which means you're unavailable on that date; the bronze, which means you could make it, but it's not terribly convenient for you; silver, which means you're available and it's convenient; and gold, which means you really would like to meet on that day if possible. And you'll see as we submit the forms at the bottom, it says waiting for results. That's the case whilst all the forms are being submitted until the final one is submitted and all the forms are locked. At that point, at the bottom of the screen, an arrow will appear saying, please click this arrow, and then you can see your results. And so we click the arrow. And you'll see in this particular set of data, Sunday, the 23rd of January was the most convenient with 3 people golding it, but you'll notice 2 people were unavailable, which is a little bit of insight into our algorithm that we'll go into a little bit later. And to finish off the user experience, you'll input your email address and click submit, and you'll get a pop-up confirming the email has been sent. And again, we'll show you that in a second. And then you can finish off and go back to the home page to start again if you want to arrange another meetup with a different group of friends. So an example of the email output is this. It's very simple. It says, as you saw that before, the 23rd of January was the most popular day for the group to meet up. And then enjoy your event from us at Team Heyday. And then a little bit about the algorithm. If everyone submits the results that no one is available on any of the days, this page will appear. Then if the most popular day is also a day everyone is available, this will appear with no analytics underneath like you saw before. However, if you're generally in a big group, the way the algorithm works, if the most popular day is one where 7 people are available and 1 is unavailable in this instance, it's still the one that's the best result. However, it will offer an alternative result when everyone is free, Saturday 22nd of January. However, you'll notice it's a lot less convenient for a lot of people with many silver and bronzes. And then finally, generally this will be the case in a smaller group because it'll weigh that heavier for everyone to attend. So obviously in a group of 3 like this example, it would be more important everyone can attend rather than being the most convenient for the 2 people who have said Saturday the 22nd of January. And to finish off our presentation, Andy's going to discuss our learning journey with you all.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ryan. Hi, everyone. I'll finish off just by discussing our working practices and some of the difficulties we overcame as a group during the project. We held daily stand-ups first thing to plan out and assign the work for the day. And these always held a strong technical focus. In the evening, we held retros with a different focus around the team's well-being, where we discussed and monitored common group issues such as burnout. We agreed to post daily progress reports to our chat channel so that we could celebrate small successes, but also highlight areas that needed more of the team's resource. None of us had any previous experience using React prior to the project. However, we've been learning new languages throughout the course, and after a group discussion, we all felt confident to take on the challenge. The team's passion for the project led to some strong opinions around functionality. Our experience working in teams throughout Makers helped us keep the discussions very constructive. Through this, we managed to combine our ideas, which ended up making Heyday a much smarter app and one that we're all very proud of. Team collaboration and spirits were always high, and most importantly, we all had a lot of fun working on the project. That wraps up our presentation. We hope you all enjoyed it, and thanks very much for listening.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Let's see if we've got any questions for this project team for Heyday. So we've got a question about how did you split the work?
I think I could probably answer something around that. Initially, we all knew that we all wanted to do the same kind of tech stack. We all wanted to go into React, and to various extents, we all looked at React before starting out on this project. But when we first began, we had a conversation to figure out how comfortable we were all feeling. Some of us were more comfortable than others with React. So on that basis, we tried to split people up into pairs with one stronger person with someone who wasn't as confident with it. After that point, we were using a Trello board to organize different tasks. We all agreed and defined what those tasks would be. And generally speaking, everyone was quite happy to volunteer for what they would like to do. And there wasn't any particular instance of people fighting over wanting to do particular things. It was all just a bit of a, who would like to do this, somebody will go for it, and it would be done together. So I don't think we had any problems actually at any point divvying up the work.
Cool, thanks. And we've got another question about how much experience in coding did each member have before? I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer that one.
I think as close to 0 as makes no difference in all our cases prior to Makers.
Yeah, I'd had a little bit of experience in a very precise language using video game modding, but nothing particularly serious.
Cool, thanks a lot, Tim, for your answers. I believe there's another question, so we're going to move on to the next team, but maybe one of you in the teams can answer in writing in the Q&A box. Thanks to the audience for your questions. Cool, let's go over to the third team. So the third team presenting tonight wanted to do a project using tech for good, for a good cause. And they also really love pets, and they wanted to do a project around those two things and combining those two things. And I actually believe that each member of the team has a pet, which when you think about it is actually quite cool. All right, I won't say more for now, but I'll leave the team power to door to present.
Awesome, thanks, Liam. Hi, everyone. I'm Tatiana, and together with Adam, Ben, and Tigita, we are team Paw to Door. So for the past 2 weeks, we have been working on an aggregator for animals that need adopting in the UK. Anyone who's ever tried to rehome an animal will know that so much time goes into going through dozens of sites and seeing hundreds of different animals, which can be quite consuming and quite honestly quite frustrating at times. On the other hand, also, many of the smaller charities don't have a professional looking website because they don't have the resources to host and maintain such a thing. And that, of course, does decrease the reach that their animals can get across the country. Some even just use social media. So basically, we have decided to use to build a one-stop shop product that hopefully would enable the rescues that would want to use the service to sign up. And then any of us as users who are looking to rehome a pet could make that process also a bit easier. Adam will now run through our processes and challenges.
Thank you, Tatiana. So some of the challenges that we faced as a team was that we took on a brand new tech stack that we hadn't previously worked with a Python-based backend using Django. and a JavaScript front end using React, which we'll go into more detail in a bit. We also only had 2 weeks for the project, and we were a smaller team than most, with just 4 members. So we established some processes that we'd use as a team to help us alleviate some of these challenges. We set up ticketing with Trello. This helped us keep organized with what each member of the team was working on. We did daily stand-ups in the morning, and during our sessions coding, we always paired taking on a driver navigator role, which we would switch around with on regular intervals. At the start of the project, we also did a lot of diagram modeling to work out what the user experience would be. To talk a bit more about the tech stack that we used, I'll hand you over to Sigita.
Thank you, Adam. We used SQLite for our database engine. For our back-end web development, we used Python programming language, also Django and Django REST frameworks. We used React for our front-end web development and Bootstrap framework for our layout. I will pass over to Ben, who will go through our demo.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so there's really 2 groups of people who would use a site. You've got a shelter who would create an account on the site so they can add their pets. And you'd have a user who would visit the site to see the pets they want to adopt. So we're going to take you through how a shelter is going to sign up and use the app. So you can see here, a shelter sign up, entered their details, including postcode. Shelter is just logging in now. And then the shelter can go to their own account page and they can start adding the pets they have available for adoption. So they can add a name, bio, they can specify gender and specify whether they're adding a cat or a dog. So we're just going to add another pet here. This one likes to play with balls. So yeah, so we've added 2 pets, and on our account page we can see all our pets as a shelter that we have to offer up for adoption. And we can also delete the pets if they're no longer available. So this is how a shelter would use the app. And then a regular user who wants to look to adopt a pet would come to this landing page, which has all the pets available here. They can also do some stuff to filter the list to make it more available to see which pets are most suited to them. So they can enter their postcode, and you can see that each pet now has a distance away from the shelter, so they know which ones are closest. They can filter to see if they only want the cats or the dogs, and they can also filter by search radius as well. So they're only willing to travel 10 miles for 10 kilometers, for example. They can just see the ones within 10 kilometers. So yeah, this is really the crux of the app for a user, is being able to find the right pet for them. So if they see a pet, and so the final thing, if they see a pet, they can click on the pet and they can see the bio, see if it's suitable. They can see the shelter's details, and they can get in touch about potentially adopting a pet. So yeah, that's our app. Any comments and questions?
Thanks, Tim. I really liked the pets pictures on your slides, like when there's pets everywhere. So are there any questions for this team? I have one question actually. When I said you all have pets, was that wrong, or am I right in saying that?
I think we all have pets except for Sigita.
Yeah, I don't. Nope.
Yeah, between cats and dogs.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, let's see if we have any question. Cool, there's 1, 2. So is there any kind of moderation for the user uploads?
In terms of what they can enter into the form?
Yeah, I guess, is there any like moderation on the user contents that is uploaded by people on the website?
So when it comes to pets, they're currently just limited to cats and dogs. Sorry, have I understood the question?
Yeah, I think the question was around if there's any kind of moderation system, you know, with when the user uploads something, or is it like published automatically, or does it need to be approved by?
Oh, it's published automatically. Once they've created the pet, it'll go into their shelter and be added to the backend database.
Cool, thanks. And we've got a second question, which is, what if you put a postcode that isn't from the UK?
Yeah, that wasn't actually on the demo, but there is a validation. So if you currently we are using an API that works with only UK postcodes. So if you do try and insert a bad postcode, it just pops up with an arrow and doesn't let you go through the flow. So you need to input a correct one.
Cool, thanks a lot, Tatiana. So there are definitely other questions, but we're gonna move on to the next team. So feel free, team, to answer those in writing in the Q&A box. And we're gonna go to the fourth team. So at Makers, we often give a lot of different resources to students, and they're often like really overwhelmed with all the pages and websites that they need to read. And it's a common case that you have like 100 tabs open in your browser and that you're just being lost into them. And so the next team wanted to tackle that by creating nice tools that they actually wanted to use and that solve a problem that they had. So I won't say anything more, but Skeleton Key, sorry, if you're ready to present, over to you.
Thank you, Leo. So let me just get this up. So hello, everybody. We are Team Skeleton Key. How we got our name is from a skeleton key, which opens many things. So our aims were to access multiple tabs at just the click of a button. What we did is create, develop, and publish. It's under review by Google now, a Chrome extension. Why we did this is we think it's a useful tool. And what it is a Chrome extension that allows you to use save useful URLs so you can easily access them. We also have a to-do feature, which allows you to add tasks for the day. You can then take them off and clear them. And now Roshan will take you through our demo.
Okay, so as you can see, the first thing we do is click on the social link. 3 tabs open for social. Then we click on the work, and we have Slack and GitHub. Now let's say we wanted to add a new URL to our work tab and it's Trello. You can see on there that that bit has been added, no problem. And clicking on work once again, it's there with no issues. Now let's say we wanted to get rid of it. It's gotten rid of with a nice pop-up message. And another feature we added is no nonsense URLs. Now let's say we wanted to create a new key, say jobs, because we're looking for jobs straight after this project fair. So I think we're going to demo like another one saying, again, we can't make an identical key and we can't have empty keys either. So now we have a jobs key. We're going to add 2 new URLs to it. The first is going to be Glassdoor. The first time we do it, there's going to be a small typo and it doesn't get in. And we're going to add it again without the typo and it gets added into the as a bit. The next one is going to be a Cape Gemini jobs. And because we're going to be applying to Cape Gemini for a nice lucrative DevOps role, and that's been added. And we're going to quickly show that it has been added. Now, we're going to go on to our to-do bar, and we're going to update our CV because we want to show off a new CV. Now we're going to apply for the role for DevOps at Capgemini, and some guy called Greg got back to us about a web stack role that we applied for, and we have to get back to him on that. So as you can see, all 3 items are there on the to-do list, and we can delete them. We got the job with Greg, and we rejected the role at DevOps at Capgemini. And as you can see, we're going to delete the jobs key, and that's the end of that demo. And I'll be passing on to Will, who will talk about the challenges that we faced and the tools that we used.
Hi guys. So throughout our project, we used the Chrome extension framework, which also involved using Chrome extension storage as part of that. The whole application is made pretty much through JavaScript on the back end. And for our front end, we're using HTML and CSS. You can go to the next slide, please, Jacob.
Hold on.
So throughout the project, we faced a few challenges, but we were able to overcome them. So the first challenge we came across was right at the beginning. So we discovered that the framework we originally wanted to use was unable to support the features we wanted. So originally we were planning to make a Ruby on Rails web application. And originally we were planning to make it where you click on a key, it will open multiple tabs and it would sign you into those websites. So for example, you click on it, it will open a Facebook tab and log you into Facebook in one click. Back through some research and from some guidance from our coach, we realized there's probably a lot of security issues with that, and it may not work how we wanted to do it. So through some more research, we decided that a Chrome extension was probably the best solution to that problem. It also turned out to be a big benefit for us because I think a Chrome extension works better for the features we've developed because it's nice and convenient. It's just sitting there on your web browser. So it worked out a lot better. So I've noticed a few trends of the questions we've had for the other groups, and we didn't have any experience with learning about Chrome extension 2 weeks ago. It's not something you do on the course, and it's not something our coach personally knew how to do. So you can imagine it's a steep learning curve. But I think the best thing about Makers has been that we've not necessarily learned every language under the sun, but we've developed the tools to go out and learn something new when we want to. So we took those skills that we've learned over 12 weeks and we went to go and tackle learning a Chrome extension. And after chipping away at it bit by bit, you start to understand how it ticks, how it works. And then we were a bit of a snowball effect. It started, the more work we did, the more we accomplished. And yeah, it was successful in the end. And I'll be passing on to Madia now, who's going to talk about, if we have more time in the future, what we would add.
So some of the plans that we had for the future was to make it a downloadable app. That way we could not only open browsers and links in browsers, but also other programs like VS Code or Microsoft Office programs. And with that, we also wanted to make it multi-browser. So it would open the app in whatever the default browser was. And we wanted to make it work well with other browsers like Firefox as well. Another thing that we were thinking of was to be able to do items one by one rather than deleting the whole list. And lastly, we would have liked to link keys to specific to-do lists, and that way when you finish or check off a whole list, then you'd have the option to delete the key that went with it as well. And that's all from us. Thank you guys for listening. And do you have any questions?
Thanks a lot, team, for the presentation. I really like just the fact that you made a Chrome extension. I can confirm that this is not taught anywhere in the Makers curriculum, and I can also confirm that I am clueless. I'm still clueless about how to make a Google Chrome extension. And yeah, you just like went for it. And that's like just a perfect example of like the growth mindset that we try to teach at Makers, to be able to learn new things when you need them. So that's really cool. Thanks. So is there any question for this team? So I guess I have one on my side. If you had to do this project a second time with, looking back to it now, what would you do differently?
Who wants to take that one? Or shall I?
You go for it, dude.
I think some of the problems I think we encountered, particularly concerning ensuring that you could, so initially you could delete individual items from the to-do list. Unfortunately, when you deleted them, it didn't automatically display. And I think perhaps using something else for the front end might have potentially worked. I think we could have potentially looked into using React for the display, and that might have solved us some of our problems. I think most other people in the team, not in the cohort, tended to use that software tool, and I think it could have potentially helped some of those front-end issues of ensuring that both the to-do items were deleted and they were displayed in the pop-up extension bar. And I think that could have happened.
That problem also came from when we were trying to store stuff in Chrome's own storage, which was something that was brand new to us. So when you deleted a specific item, would it be deleted in the storage and then be saved as deleted in the storage and then reload itself? So that was one of our issues.
Cool, thanks a lot. That's all good reflections to hear. And we've got another question from Mona Lisa about, she loves the to-do list, very handy as a Chrome extension. So is there a limit for the to-do lists?
We couldn't find one. We entered as many things as we wanted, never became a problem. It automatically goes to a scroll down bar, so you can just scroll all the way down. I actually don't know what the limit is.
I guess the only inconvenient thing is that, like Roshan was saying, we could only implement a delete all button instead of delete individual. So ideally, you would kind of keep it concise just for that reason. But there doesn't seem to be a limit, like Jacob said.
Cool. So you can effectively create infinite to-do lists that never ends. That you never get checked. Yeah, that looks definitely like my own to-do list.
That's what
I think the idea on this one was more make your tasks for the day and then clear it at the end of the day.
Cool. Thanks, team. Thanks a lot. All right, let's go to the final team, last but not least. So this project is gonna particularly pique your interest if, like me, you love food, you have a lot of things in your fridge, but you have no idea whatsoever what to do with them, and you're always doing the exact same recipes and you're getting bored by it. So without further ado, Team Recipe, the floor is yours. Let's talk about food.
Ben, I think you're muted.
Oh, so that's right. Good evening, everyone. We're Team Recipe, and we've created a site called Recipe. We're a team of 5 consisting of Blessing, Dylan, Simon, Caesar, and myself. And we set out 2 weeks ago to build a website that helps inspire people with new and exciting recipes. We've delivered a site that allows users to search for recipes using keywords. Users can register for the site. They can save recipes to their favorites, as well as adding and saving their own recipes. I'll pass over to Dylan now to talk about the tech stack we implemented to build the site.
Thanks, Ben. Hello, everyone. I'll be walking you through our tech stacks we chose for this project. Initially, our team wanted to focus on JavaScript for the project and came to the conclusion that MERN-stack is the most suitable one for our recipe page. So MERN stands for MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. For styling, we chose to use React Bootstrap. We also use GitHub for collaboration and for source code within the platform. So I'll pass you over to Blessing, who will talk about the working practices for this project.
Thank you, Dylan. In terms of our working practices, we had our routine meetings. We set working hours with the morning stand-ups to plan and assign tasks for the day. We also had lunchtime check-ins and the retros at the end of the day to ensure that we were on track with our targets, And our approach consisted of extensive planning sessions at the start of the project, which involved designing the finished product using wireframes. And we also scheduled merging sessions to reduce any potential merging conflicts when trying to combine the code. We utilized the Pomodoro technique for pair programming, which helped efficiency because of the regular breaks. Because we decided to use a new tech stack, we decided to have knowledge sharing sessions where we could discuss new things that we learned that could aid us in implementing our new features. And then finally, we used Trello for setting out our working practices and distributing the project workload using an agile approach. I'll now pass you over to Simon, who will be showing you a demo of the application running.
Thanks, Blessing. Hi, I'm Simon, and I will now take you through our site. As stated before, it can be used to search for recipes. So to start, I will search for chicken recipes. The tandoori dish looks nice. If I click show recipe, I can see the ingredients and method listed, as well as a link to a YouTube video of it being made. I can't add it to favorites unless I'm logged in, so I will sign up to the site and log in. We can see now that I've logged in, the nav bar has changed. So I've got more options, but I will log out and then log back in again. So if I navigate to my favorites page, be prompted to add one. So I will find that tandoori recipe again and save that to my favorites. And get a pop-up confirming that that's been added to my favorites. And now, because everyone loves chocolate, I will search for a recipe featuring chocolate. And brownies look good, so I'll add those to my favorites as well. And so if we navigate to my favorites page, we can see my favorites listed. I've changed my mind about the tandoori chicken, so I will remove that from my favorites. So then if we go to my recipes page, see that I don't have any at the minute, and so I will add a new one, just a simple one for fried eggs. So I can specify the recipe name, the ingredients, and the instructions. And I can also upload an image of the finished product. And so if I click add recipes, I can see that that's being added to my recipes page. And that's our site. I will now hand you over to Caesar.
Thank you, Simon. Hello, everyone. I'm Caesar, and I will be talking about the challenges we faced and what we have learned from them. Some of these challenges were learning a totally new to us tech stack and the sheer volume of the resources we had to go through. Also understanding how to test the MERN stack and learning the Mongo database. And all of that must be achieved on a 2 weeks time frame. But thanks to our team effort, we have learned a lot about how components within the MERN stack interact with each other. We improved our understanding on fetching data with APIs, and we learned the importance of establishing minimum viable product and simplifying the style link using React Bootstrap from the beginning of the project. Thank you all for listening, and any questions are welcome. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, team. And now I'm already hungry for dinner. Thanks for that. All right, let's see if there are any questions for this last team. I have one. What did you find was the most challenging part of learning a new tech stack, the main stack more specifically?
For me, just how data gets passed around from sort of component to component. But I think we got the hang of it quite quickly.
Thanks. There's one question now from Demis, which is, can you search recipes by cuisine?
I think that would be, there are multiple ways to search the meal database API, multiple different queries. And if we had more time, we would have added sort of different ways to search. Like you can search by region, category, if it's like vegetarian or seafood, search by sort of be more specific ingredient wise. But at the minute, it's just sort of search by name.
Cool, thanks a lot. We've got another question from Alexis, which is a general question for you, Recipe, but also relevant to others. How do you go about choosing your tech stack? Seems like it's really important to get the right one for your purposes. So how did you go about choosing this stack?
Good question. I think we wanted to use something that we hadn't used before primarily. And it sort of fit fit what we were trying to do with the app in terms of data. It was primarily we wanted to experiment with learning something new, and from what we understood of it, it fit our needs really.
Yeah, to be honest, we could have just made it with React, but we thought it would be a good opportunity for us to learn. And as a team effort, we've been going researching stuff, coming back and explaining it to each other, and that really helped.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. That's all really good reasons, I think. But I think, yeah, just for those projects, just having the will to learn something new is already a really good reason to learn this stack, because then you can learn anything that you want and challenge yourself with learning something that is not taught by the curriculum. So that's already a really good reason. All right, cool. Looks like we're done with questions. And oh no, there's one last one that got in for all teams. I know you said most of you didn't have coding experience before, but did all of you have a good idea of computing in general? Does anyone in the Recipe team wants to answer that last one?
Yeah, I can answer that. I mean, I can only speak for myself. Personally, I didn't have any idea of computing at all. Maybe just how to use my own computer, which is a Mac OS. But I think that's that's the level at which I came into the program. I think the majority of us were quite similar. So we learned a lot. We learned basically everything new on the program.
All right, thanks a lot, Blessing. And I guess with that, we can wrap it up. Thank you, team. And yes, that's it for our presentations today. Thank you, everyone. And again, well done. And I really wish you the best for your next steps in your software engineer's journey. And once again, you can all be really proud of yourselves and of what you accomplished so far. And now you should all get some well-needed and deserved rest this weekend, and take care. And your cohort was fully remote, but I hope that when things get better and the office can reopen, and there are some makers events, it'd be nice to see you in real life popping into the office and not just behind a Zoom window like we've been doing for 12 weeks. And yeah, we'd be super happy, me and the other coaches and the rest of Maker staff, to meet you in person as well. All right, and thank you to the audience as well for being with us on this demo day. And if you'd like to stay with us now, I'll hand over to Nikki and Joe, I believe, for the Q&A session now. Thanks, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Leo. And thank you everyone. That was so interesting to see all your projects. I'm always really excited about demo day. Everything's always really creative, and yeah, like just go have a drink, have a nap, chill out. You deserve it. Yeah, so for the next 30 minutes, we will just be answering some questions that anyone might have about the course and makers in general. So if you have a question, just pop it into the chat box or the Q&A box, sorry, and we will answer the best we can for you. I'll just see if there's any at the moment. So Natasha is asking, are the hybrid courses running at the moment? Yes, so at the moment we have remote courses and hybrid courses. The next hybrid course actually is starting, the pre-course is starting in a few days. So it's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I haven't got the dates yet for the ones coming up, but the best way to find out is if you go onto our website and sign up to our newsletter, then you'll be the first to know when the next courses are announced. And I think after the government's announcements, we will be going back to starting to do less remote and more hybrid, and hopefully get everyone back into the office. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, Jordan, thanks for running all the presentations, really interesting. Are you only running full-time courses, or will there be any part-time courses? I have a full-time job and a baby, so it's tricky to dedicate to full-time. So the part-time course is a conversation that is being had. Like, we have tested it out before, and it wasn't necessarily that successful because this course, it is meant to be quite heavy. It is meant to be very intense. So, you know, people were still working and doing the course, and they found it a bit difficult. And maybe it was just the structure of the course that we haven't figured out how to do it as well as part-time. So yeah, we don't have any part-time courses at the moment, but like I said, if you sign up to the newsletter, you will be the first to know. And it just, you know, it is in talks. There's a lot of changes happening, so hopefully we'll be able to do that in the near future. Okay. Okay, Monica, what is the hiring process for makers clients? So we have the partnership team who basically they bring in our clients. Our clients will come to us, and what they'll do is they'll say, we need so and so many developers, we need so many coders for our company, and then what they'll do is they'll either put them through an apprenticeship scheme where they'll take either staff that they already have, or they want brand new people, and then we'll train them up to do the same sort of normal boot camp, and then they'll go off and start working for that company. But for other hiring processes, so when you finish the boot camp, you can either look for jobs yourself, and we'll offer support. So we'll offer, like, we've got loads of coaches that will help you with CVs, interview skills, loads of things like that. And basically they will just be there for you from the minute you finish the course. Like, they're there for you. Like, you can have one-to-ones with them all the time. You'll have technical coaches helping you. And then we also have lunchtime talks as well. So if a job comes up, we put it on the job board, and whatever students want to apply for that job, that company will come in and talk to the students about the role. So you'll get a chance to sort of learn more about the company, learn who you'll be working under. And then basically we just give them your application, and then they choose, we'll kind of shortlist it, and then they'll choose who they want to come work for them. Okay, next one. Mark, to the teams, what was your favorite thing about the course? Does anyone from the teams want to answer this? Or is everyone gone?
I'd say probably Acebook was my personal favorite, because it was amazing just to see. We had a big team, I think we had 7 or 8, and we just made basically Facebook in 10 days. And that's just crazy. So yeah, just to see how far we'd come. And I think that was like week 8 or 9. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. Just to add some context for people not familiar with the curriculum, this is like the second engineering project they've been working in, and the first like 2-week project where we give them specifications. They have to work to conform to the specifications in 2 weeks in teams of like 6 to 8 people. So yeah.
I'd say the parent every day and the engineering projects, because it just felt like you're not coding alone, you're not on your own, like you're learning alongside other people and with other people. And it feels like working in a team within Makers is going to be like what working in a team and your job's going to be like. So I'd say that really.
Yeah, if I could add something too. So for the ACE book, the engineering project we did, I think it's a 2-week project, and I spent about a week and a half trying to figure out what was going on before I even started coding, I think. And then for this final project, I probably spent about a day trying to figure out what was going on. And then the rest of the time was spent actually coding and making stuff. And I found the process of actually building our own stuff to be the funnest. So I've enjoyed the final project the most.
I'd echo that sentiment. I really enjoyed the final project as well, in terms of having that freedom to kind of tailor our experience to exactly how we wanted it to be to achieve what we wanted from the project.
Nice. And Sophie's asking, has the course been what you expected?
I'd personally say it's been more than what I expected, but in a good way, because you've really got to challenge yourself and push through, but you'll get there in the end.
Good. Yeah, no, Makers is very, they're all about helping people, push people to find the answer instead of giving them the answer, which I'm sure you would all agree with, which I think is such a good way to teach coders. I'll go into the next one. I think this one maybe for you, Leo. It says, are you allowed to study on campus outside of set coaching sessions? And are the coaches available outside of sessions on weekends for help?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So you're definitely allowed to study outside of like the kind of coaching time, which are usually Monday to Friday, 9 to 6. However, the office is not open at the moment because of the world working from home thing. But when we open for hybrid cohorts, we only open in those hours. So the office is not open on the weekend, for example. But then you're totally free to work remotely from your home on the project, which I believe some teams did on these final projects. And for the second question, which are the coaches available outside of the sessions on weekend to help? So usually no, we're only available on coaching hours and usually mostly in the mornings. Even though sometimes it changes a bit because we're available in the afternoon to help and support and coach learners. But roughly we're only available Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, office hours, basically.
Cool. So I don't know if that answers Will's first question. So my understanding is the course is mainly 9 to 5. Do you have to work outside of those hours? So like, Leo, would you say they have to do like a lot of extra sort of hours outside normal 9 to 5 day?
So during the course, after each unit, there is something called weekend challenge, which learners have to work on individually. So they're supposed to complete that challenge during the weekend. So we usually suggest to not spend the weekend working on it because you still need some time resting and getting ready and getting your energy back for the next week. But usually it will depend a lot on learners and people, but it can vary for like a few hours on the weekend or like a day or maybe half a day or something. And I guess a lot of the time in final projects, students have to work on weekends, even if that's not required, but because they're really, I guess, motivated to do the best that they can during those 2 weeks, it can happen like that they work during weekends. And I guess a few learners still on the call now will probably agree with me, saying that you might have worked on the weekend as well. Or maybe you didn't. In that case, it's great because you do some time for rest.
No, we definitely worked on the weekend for the weekend challenges. Yeah.
When it gets to about week 10, some people are like, yeah, we're not going to work on the weekend, which is fair enough. Like after that, after 10 weeks of just doing like 6 or 7 days, that's the other thing as well. It's just like, set yourself a time limit on how long you do the weekend challenge. Like maybe say I'll do 5 hours, and if it's not done, I'll leave it.
Yeah, I guess it's really important to remember as well that we don't require people to work overtime if they feel like overwhelmed or tired, and we really suggest to everyone that they take the time they need some time to recharge, make sure that they're fully rested and everything, because if you're not fully rested, if you're not in that ready position to be able to learn, you won't make the best of your learning journey. So it's important to sometimes go the extra mile, but it's also important to recognize when you need to step down a bit and take some rest and leave some time, because again, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and that's something that we say to our learners.
What is the process to join the course is the next question. So the process, it can be lengthy. What we normally do is have our course sales team have a call with you. They will ask you lots of different questions, see if you're right for the course, if this is, because we don't want to just sort of blindside people and just put them on the course straight away. We need to sort of make sure that this is going to fit in with them and it's what they really want to do. So they'll do that, and then they'll be selected they'll be put into like a selection process, and through that they'll be put into interviews and then placed on whichever cohorts that they're right for at that place and time. But if you want any more information about that, actually, though, I can drop an email where someone may be able to answer this slightly better. We don't actually have anyone from the course sales team on the call tonight, and that's normally their sort of area of expertise. But I will drop that in the chat. Cool. Okay. Cool. Is the curriculum similar if you join the cohort as an apprentice? Leo, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the curriculum is broadly the same with some differences into, I think, some weeks because it's slightly shorter. We have a curriculum that is 12 weeks on apprenticeship, whereas on the paid bootcamp, it's 4 weeks of pre-course plus 12 weeks of the course. So in apprenticeship, it's slightly condensed to make some kind of fit into 12 weeks, but it's broadly the same progression and the same skills, behaviors, and goals that are put into this one. Also, sometimes the apprenticeship program is tailored depending on the employer and what as the employers need for those specific apprentices, but it's broadly the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And how are students assessed individually in group projects? This is a Leo question, I think.
Yeah, that's for me as well. So students are not assessed individually in the group projects. And the way teams assess if they reach the goals for the project is by doing self-assessments. We have a list of kind of project criteria that we give to the teams. For example, did you get 100% test coverage? Did you follow good code design principles? Is everyone in the team owning the code? Do you do code reviews before merging the code? Are you following these principles? And things like this that are skills, behavior, and practices and good code design practices from the rest of the course. And same for like team processes. Are you following stand-ups? Are you using retros to reflect on how you're working as a team? And usually teams are encouraged to self-assess on their own about, are we following those things? Are we doing those things right? And to try to readjust and to reflect and to learn from that. But we don't specifically go to each team and say with like a grading sheet, have you done that? No, yes, no, yes, no, yes. And we don't grade as well. So we really encourage like people and teams to do it by themselves. And obviously we're here to support if there's like difficulties into kind of following those things, and we can support and readjust and discuss with the teams and provide coaching. But usually, I mean, I can say that on the last 2 weeks, I think most of the teams were able to properly like self-assess without much publishing guidance, which is actually great because it means that you're starting to become independent into recognizing and reflecting on your own work.
Perfect, thank you. Alexis is asking the makers, so what's next? Are you applying for jobs? Are there any particular fields you want to get into? How do you feel about it? Excited, nervous? Are you confident?
I guess I could kick off. So I joined Makers because I've been really unhappy in my work for like 6 years now, and I've always been really nervous about what I'm going to be doing next. I'm still really nervous about what I'm going to be doing next, but I'm actually like really hopeful for the future now, which is not something I've experienced for a long time. So that feels really good. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing. I've tried to sort of keep my windows open by going down JavaScript, which I know is very popular, and Makers, I'm told, have got a very good sort of work program that's going to start after the course. And I believe I'll be getting a lot of support with getting placement there as well. So yeah, excited for the future.
Amazing. Anyone else want to share their fears, nervous plans for after Makers?
I think I was saying earlier, because when we did our end of like boot camp review as a cohort earlier, we had to describe one word and how we felt, and I said bullish, because I'm excited. Like after doing this, I can take anything on, and I'm looking forward to getting cracking with like life in the real world again.
Yeah, amazing. And you guys, and it's so amazing that like even after the course has finished, like it's not like you're always part of the Makers family as well, which I love about Makers. You know, like you'll always have that support from us, no matter how far you go. Cool, great. Do you offer any scholarships, bursaries, or anything like that from Jordan? Yes, we do. So for our scholarships, we work with different communities, mostly at the moment communities that are maybe underrepresented. So we offered scholarships for coding Black females last year, that was really successful, and we've got Islamic makers who are doing scholarships. We also work with, so the government has a scheme called DFE where they will pay different businesses to put people through boot camps, and Makers is one of them. So we get funding from the government to offer certain places to people who are in need of that funding. And that's, yeah, so that is absolutely available. And if you are going to have a call about the course to our core sales team, and if you mention that, they'll explain that to you and how you can go about getting that funding if you require it. So yeah, we do, and we're planning on doing a lot more scholarships in the future. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just go to the next one. What is the average acceptance rate for apprenticeship applicants? I think it varies because, you know, it is getting bigger as our partnerships are growing. Obviously, we're getting approached by a lot more companies who want to put people through the apprenticeship. So to give an average is very, very difficult. What I will do is tell you, if you message the contact at makers.tech, I can find that out for you in more detail, because at the moment I'm actually not sure. I don't know, Leo, if you know much about this one.
The acceptance rate for apprenticeship, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid I don't know about this. So not more than you, at least.
Yeah, it's changed, it varies so much. But yeah, I will find out for you. Okay, let's see. Sophie, how good are job prospects? Do most people secure a job within 3 months? Yeah, the job prospects are excellent. And I think after, especially, I mean, obviously 2020 was a horrible year for just the world in general and jobs, and there was a bit of a hiring freeze, but we've bounced back from that astronomically, and I think what the pandemic did was highlight the need for technology, for tech talent, and that has really benefited us because people are, more companies are coming to us needing more, software developers. There's a real high demand for it right now. So the job prospects are excellent. And I would say, normally we say after the course, maybe give yourself 3 to 6 months for job hunting. So yeah, you're kind of spot on with the 6-month mark. That's what we normally sort of gauge with that time frame. But like, it's been great because even, I think I heard like a couple of weeks ago that the amount of people that got jobs was higher than it was before the pandemic. So we're really reaching high targets with that, definitely. Hey, Natasha, is it too late to apply for to a course that pre-course starts on the 24th? I know that people do apply really close to that deadline, but I'm not 100% sure. Leo, do you know if that's possible to still apply?
Yeah, I believe that a few times we have people like starting after the pre-course starts. Definitely, like actually almost every pre-course, there's a few people that start. So I would definitely reach out to admissions just to make sure that this is accurate. But I feel this is definitely possible to get in after the deadline. After the pre-course starts. Yeah.
I can say something. If you already done 100 katas, and if you already took the Ruby course on Code Academy, then you can. Otherwise, it's like you have to pass 100 kata and you have to pass 10 hours course on Code Academy. And after that, you can join the makers. If you already done that, you can contact them, but I really doubt it. Within 2 days, you can make it. Like, good luck for next one. But try to contact the makers and see what the requirement. It's not much. It's like 10 hours on Code Academy and 100 kata. It will take you like a week or so, maximum. And good luck.
What I'll do is as well, I'm just going to pop my email into the chat box just so you can email me if you want me to sort of figure this out for you as soon as possible. Yeah. And if you have any other questions as well, use that email and I'll answer that best I can for you. Okay. How intensive is the pre-course? Leo, I think that's for you.
Yeah, so it's really hard to give like an answer to that one because it really depends on how you're processing the learning materials for the pre-course and what was maybe your previous like backgrounds in maybe coding. Maybe you've done a bit more coding than other people. I'd say it's definitely less full-on than the main course because it's designed to be worked on maybe part-time if you're working maybe on the side. However, it's definitely easier if you're doing the pre-course full-time. But yeah, I guess, yeah, it's really hard for me to answer. It's it can be quite intense because of some exercises that are quite hard, but yeah, it really depends. It's less intense as the main course, but maybe Cesar, do you want to give some words? Oh, or maybe not. I just see your, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I guess it's yeah, it's easier if you're doing it full time, but it's also definitely possible if you're doing it part time side of a job or something.
Cool. Perfect. And for the panel, do you have any words of wisdom for anyone thinking about doing the course?
Cesar, do you want to add something?
Yeah, to be honest, I want them to learn from my mistake. Before you join, learn like Ruby, because you need to learn that. And try to learn test-driven development. We did, like most of the cohort didn't hear about the testing, and we all struggle with it. If you just see a couple of videos, do some course, TDD, just Google that, and everything will be plain sailing. Good luck.
My addendum to that would be respectfully. I mean, I'm sure. Of course, that's true for Caesar. For me, I had completed like the Ruby course on Codecademy, so my experience was about 2 hours with Ruby, and I took to it like a duck to water. I loved doing Ruby. I loved learning about test-driven development within the environment of the course. So I think it's going to be something where you just get out of it what you put into it, and if you really passionately engage with it and are doing the weekend challenges, just the more you throw yourself in, the more you're going to get out of it.
Excellent, yeah. And there's so much, there's so many resources as well to help you out there. We offer a free workshop, Code Accelerator, which the next one is on the 3rd of February, which I really highly recommend. You go to after this. It'll really help you get to grips with the basics of Ruby, and yeah, just get to know the coaches a little bit better as well. Cool, that's the next one. Okay, so Jordan's asking, just jumping on Dominic's question in the chat. Oh, must be questions in the chat. Did anyone from this intake have children, and if so, how did you manage balancing childcare with the workload, including weekend challenge? Does anyone want to answer this one? Can anyone?
I don't have kids. There was somebody in our cohort, her name was Kate, who did have kids, and she would be very clear. There were some days where she just couldn't make it work with her pairing, and she was respectful and made it very clear up front that she wasn't going to be available that day, and it was never really a problem, and she found the time to do it when she could. So I think it is achievable.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about before you apply is do your make sure that you are able to do it, because we would never want to, that's why we go through the interview process and make sure that it's right for you and it's the right time for you. And yeah, it's definitely something to think about before you begin the course 100%, so it doesn't get too overwhelming. Okay, is it 100 points to get in Code Wars? I have no idea. Leo.
I think it is. Yeah, that's Matt, do you confirm? Yes, that's 100 points to get.
Yeah, unfortunately it's 100, but it's not very hard. Ish.
Cool. Theo is asking, in your experience, how much does age play a role in employability, apprenticeship? I'm almost 50, but not quite. Is that an issue? From my perspective, it's not an issue. We have lots of most of our makers are career changers, so they are in that age bracket from say 30 to 50 plus. It's very normal for makers to be in that age range, so absolutely I don't think that's would stop you at all. Absolutely not. And it's not, it will not be an issue in the hiring process. I can assure you of that, definitely.
But definitely, I'm 47. It's never too late. Never too late.
Exactly.
Even if you are 67, 77, 87, it's always
100%.
Just go for it. Go for it.
I mean, that's exactly what Makers is about. We're you're never told to change your life. That's what we shout about all the time. So yeah, no worries with that issue. Okay, next one. What percentage of the students graduate? I'm not 100% sure on that number. Leo, do you know this percentage?
Yeah, so I assume that, by graduating, you mean everyone going through to the 12-week, because then we don't have any grading system where we look at grades or things like this and say either you pass and you graduate, either you don't pass. Sometimes there are some rare cases of people maybe not dropping out but deferring because of personal reasons, or maybe because they couldn't commit fully to the course for different reasons. But in that case, we usually offer like when the conditions are right, deferral to a later cohort when they will be able to do it again. But there's no instance of, for example, you would reach the end of the course having done everything, but then because maybe you're not good enough or something, you won't pass. So I'd say it's not 100% because sometimes there are a few cases, but if you go through to the 12 weeks, you graduate and your makers graduate. Does that make sense?
Perfect, thank you. What other resources would be useful to get through before applying? Leo, do you have any you could suggest?
Yeah, I guess, well, a good resource is Code Academy, and I think that's one we actually point to people to do before getting on the pre-course. But then I guess maybe Cesar might have just still there. Did you have any useful resources that you found useful maybe before starting?
I found out about Code Wars through Makers, and I've been doing loads of Code Wars, and it's so helpful. Love Code Wars. So yeah, recommend practicing with some Code Wars.
Yeah, it's definitely good for practicing. As for learning resources, just Google Stack Overflow if you have like problem and you want the exact answer to it. But general knowledge, just Google it. You can use the official documentation for the language you are using, or you can use like YouTube, which is really helpful. Most of us like read a little and watch webinars and YouTubes and like this and that. Keep searching.
Yeah, there's loads of like online communities as well. Like, you know, there's loads of Facebook groups you can join where like all of this stuff will be updated with new and cool apps that are available. You know, there's like, you know, coding is very popular. There's lots of communities. Okay, so that's fine. What's the next one? Does a certain personality do better in the course? Anne is asking. Personally, like, you know, from a maker's perspective, like I'll ask Leo for this in a second, but I would say in the application, that from starting from the application process, we really encourage people to be very transparent and very open with us, be yourself. That's the best way I would think to get into the course first and foremost. But in terms of actually on the course, maybe Leo could expand on that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a specific like personality trait or anything, like, because people that come from makers are really diverse in terms of like personality traits and how they are and everything like this. But I think if there's one thing to pick, it's really this like growth mindset that we speak about, that we talk about, and that we encourage people to have. But that's something that you can develop as well. Even if you don't really have it when going on the course, that's something that you can nurture and develop, and that's the ability to know that you can learn and to have a process to learn new things that you need to learn, but you maybe don't know, and to just say to yourself, okay, I can do it, and I'm going to have a process. I'm going to set myself goals. I'm going to reflect on my learning. I'm going to learn from my mistakes and do all of the things, and really having this like mindset. And it's not even like a personality thing. It's more like just a mindset you have. And anyone with a personality trait can have this one. And by doing that, this is, I think, what really, allow people to thrive through the course, along like the things that Nikki mentioned, like being open, being honest with yourself, with others, and just be yourself.
Perfect. Sophie, do career changes come from a bit of a mixed industries before joining makers? Oh yes, they come from all over. We get people from like, you know, people who were nurses, like, you know, people, mechanics, like get people who worked, you know, maybe in sort of very office structured jobs, you know, like it's varied. We get people from all over. I can't think of anyone like specifically, but maybe the graduating students could discuss what you guys did before.
Well, I used to be in advertising. Had nothing to do with coding. I know Myung used to be an architect, couple of like project managers from various industries. I think most people don't have experience in coding related industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be an architect, and since 2016 I've been living in Dubai, having like a business there. And after the pandemic, I arrived back to the UK and joined the makers. So
yeah, it's crazy, like, you know, how people, yeah, just most of the makers just haven't had any coding experience, and that's absolutely fine. Like, so many questions come in and say like they're really worried because they've never done it before. I'm like, no, that's what we're here for. Like, that's, you know, that's absolutely fine if you've never done it. I mean, it's good to maybe like test it out to see if you like coding before you start the course, but no matter where you come from, like that will not stop you from doing well in the course. Cool. What's next? If you do not get on the course the first time, how many times can you apply? You can apply to the course how many times you want. There's no limit, and what we'll do is we will give you feedback on your interviews. So we'll be very honest with you and let you know like what you could change, you know, why you didn't necessarily make this cohort. And it's probably a good idea to apply, you know, 2 weeks before the pre-course starts, because then if you don't get into that one, you can always like try get into the one afterwards if you apply early enough, if that makes sense. So yeah, no, you can apply it as many times as you want. There's no limit. Okay, let's see. Is that all the questions? Oh no, there's one just below. Can I apply now for the April cohort? I don't think that is live yet, as far as I know. But what I'll do is I'll just like I'll drop my email down again in the chat box if you haven't seen it before, and if you email me, I will find out when that's open. Makers.tech. Yeah, if you email me there, I'll find out when that opens as soon as possible. Okay, let's see if there's any more. Oh, one more. For graduates, have you done the remote or the hybrid course?
This course is remote.
Fully remote, yeah.
Yeah, I actually wasn't sure if you guys had been in the office at all.
No, never. To be honest, I never have been to Commercial Street. Not yet. But hopefully, very soon I will come and say hello to everyone.
Yeah, when it will stop by and say hello.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, 100%. I know.
Yeah, but our cohort is remote. The one before us was hybrid, and the one after us was hybrid. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's the next one. Do you think there are more benefits in doing the bootcamp hybrid rather than remote now that both options are available? I mean, I'll let you answer that maybe, Leo.
Yeah, I don't think there are like, you know, clear benefits in terms of like you're going to be better at like searching a job and better at your skills or things like this. But I think, yeah, it's a different experience because then you get to experience a few weeks like teaching, coaching, pairing with others, and maybe teamwork physically in a physical environment with like, you know, being in the same room and everything, not being on Zoom, but you also have a part of it remote. And I think it's really important, especially right now, as a lot of companies are still working remote and moving remote. So I think it's kind of like the best of both worlds. But at the same time, I think being fully remote hasn't been, you know, a setback for any cohorts or any student like since the beginning of 2020 when we went fully remote. So I'd say it's just a different experience, probably more interesting because you see a lot of different aspects, but it doesn't have like clear advantages or benefits, I guess.
Yeah, I think what I might add as well is, you know, there's a lot of questions where people say, you know, oh, if I'm not in London, will it affect the job? Which it's changed so much where, okay, maybe the answer would be like, yes, it will affect your employability, but now so many companies are looking for remote workers. So in a way, people who've done the remote course, it sort of prepares them for that, and having to figure out how to work with people, how to work with teams, not being able to be in the same room with them. So I actually think there's a lot of benefits from what they've got from that. So yeah, I hope that answers the question as well. Right. Do you need to know a lot about cloud before starting?
No, you don't.
Okay, I think that's everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to head off anyway, so
yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even realize the time. Sorry, I forget it's the weekend now. Everyone wants to get on with it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for all your questions, and thank you guys for helping answer them as well. That's been really, really helpful. And yeah, if like I said before, if anyone has anything else, just message the email that I dropped in the chat, and I'll answer best I can for you. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.